Welcome to Comics Bazaar, the channel of comics commentary and arcana. This video features X-Force number 11, cover dated June 1992. The cover is by Rob Liefeld, but not inked by himself, instead inked by Trevor Scott. You can see his signature there, just signing himself as Scott. That's Trevor Scott. And it is a pretty cool cover. I like this cover, featuring very prominently Deadpool, of course, and the cover caption, Domino revealed. So there is a mystery that has been seeded regarding Domino and how Deadpool knows her. That's already been established in previous issues, and now we're going to learn something shocking, especially on the final page, regarding Domino in this issue. This is also the final issue plotted by Rob Liefeld. After this, he's gone from Marvel on account of his development of publication of Youngblood. Marvel weren't going to tolerate him having a second job for a second company, and so in effect he was pushed out from Marvel. He rather regards it as not having been kicked out by Marvel, but maybe Marvel's perspective and Tom DeFalco's perspective in particular might be a little bit different in that regard. I really like this cover. I like the colours on the cover, the red, the blue and the yellow. I think the cover pops. I like Liefeld's design of the three characters here. This isn't exactly a scene that we ever see in the issue, but it does communicate the main characters of this particular issue. And I like the way that the figures are arranged dynamically in perspective on the cover as well. I think it's very effective to have Deadpool going this way, Domino this way, and Shatterstar down here below. It works really well. It's one of his more successful covers, I would say. Let's open this one up to the first page. So we've got an interesting layout on this page. It is also my contention, as it was with the previous issue, which was penciled by Mark Pacella, that Mark Pacella is working from thumbnails supplied by Rob Liefeld. So I very much see Liefeld layouts and Liefeld poses on characters as well, but with overlaid by Mark Pacella anatomy and a little bit more detail on the backgrounds from Pacella in some regards as well. But really the point I want to emphasize is it is my belief that he's working from Liefeld thumbnails, and so that's why Liefeld isn't getting a breakdowns or layouts credit, because there is no thumbnails credit in comics. But that's what Mignola worked from on issue number 9, and it is, or rather issue number 8, and it is my contention that Pacella was working from Liefeld thumbnails in the previous issue and this issue too. So here we have most of X-Force making their way down this series of steps, and I like the decision to put them mostly in silhouette here, just with little details of their costumes showing, like Cable's glowing yellow eye there as well. I really like that, and an interesting screen tone as well here by the inker Panosian. And it turns out they're making their way down to the Morlocks, and they've got some things that they want to show the Morlocks. In the previous issue, Cable said that the very next day they were going to the Morlocks and they were going to show them Mask's head on a pike. So is that what's going to happen? And I like the switch of colour schemes here from the cold blues to the yellow on the Morlocks. We're going to see that Cable's carrying a torch here, and when the torch is lit, that is what is casting that yellow-orange light. So you see it here when I turn the page, and we have a splash here of Cable holding up the torch and holding up Mask's cloak. So he says to the Morlocks, he addresses them and says, "Hear me, Mask is dead. Do any of you want to join your fallen leader?" So that's the challenge. And the title of this particular story is Friendly Reminders, and that is going to be, and that's an ironic mapping onto, in particular, Deadpool and his role in this particular comic. So the credits here: Rob Liefeld plot, Fabian Nicieza script, so Nicieza adding the dialogue and captions, Mark Pacella guest pencils, and as I've said a number of times already, working from Rob Liefeld thumbnails, Dan Panosian inks, Chris Eliopoulos letters, and Steve Buccellato colors rounds out the creative team. So only 3 panels here, 3 horizontal panels here. Cable continues with his speech. X-Force does not blame the general Morlock population for the actions of your leaders, but this serves as a final warning. And look, there's a speech bubble here that's blacked out. So I wonder what he said there, or why it was blacked out, or what's going on with that. Interesting, intriguing little insight into a late editorial intervention, very likely before this issue went to press. Cable continues. Sauron dead, Mask dead, Thorn, that's her here, that she's been revealed to be Farrell's sister, beaten and whipped. And then he points to Cannonball. Cannonball hasn't replaced his shirt there, so it's all ripped open still from when Sauron stuck his wing talons into his chest and killed him. The one person you thought a casualty of war, Cannonball, lives, breathes, and walks among us. So tell us, boys and girls, what's the lesson we learned today? Well, the lesson we learned in the previous issue is that Cannonball is an external. He's in effect immortal. But, okay, an interesting use of screen tone as well here. So, yeah, very much you can imagine what Liefeld's thumbnail was of the upshot on Cable's head. But what we're getting is we're getting that Pacella anatomy on Cable's face and head there. So the response, they don't give any real verbal response, but Cable just continues and concludes. A little peroration to his speech. He says, you're better served working with me than dying against me. I like that tough guy dialogue. Remember it and live. And then Farrell has a little moment with her older sister. She says, it ain't over between us, big sister. Name the time and place, Maria. So we have learned Farrell's first name, not her surname. And she says, no, Thorin, I don't think so. I'll nail your hide to the wall when you least expect it. And then Cable gives the order to move out. So we have Farrell there in silhouette as she moves away. And again, that's a Rob Liefeld trope. And then the team walks away, and we've got that tilted Dutch angle as well, hiding their feet. Another Liefeld trope coming through in the thumbnails. But my feeling is there wasn't too much detail in the thumbnails, so we're seeing Pacella put more of his anatomy on the figures in this particular drawing. So Cannonball asks Cable, I think they got the message, and he says, I hope so. Couldn't have been more obvious if we walked in here with Mask's head on a pike. And that's interesting because that was the plan. That's what he said he was going to do in the previous issue, but he didn't go and do that. And I wonder, was that an editorial kind of intervention, that it was too macabre, or is it a little revelation that Cable sometimes talks incredibly tough but isn't that much of a, like, he isn't a psychopath. And remember, during this time period there is that mystery about Cable's relation to Strife, and some characters believe that the two are one and the same, and that's going to come up in this issue as well. Another page here, it's very clearly to me a Rob Liefeld layout coming through from the thumbnails. We're in the Adirondack Mountains, so this is the X-Force base, and the only people there at the moment are Shatterstar and Teresa Cassidy, aka Siren. So Shatterstar is training, that's what he does in his free time. So we have a nice little kind of collage of little action moments from him during his training session against these robots. But we have a first-person narration. There's someone watching him. Broke in right after Nate and his dweeb kiddies took off for parts unknown. Long as Vanessa wasn't part of the school trip, I don't care. Watching this punk Shatterstar has been kind of fun, non-stop for over an hour. Makes Jane Fonda look like a couch potato, very 80s, 90s reference. Just seeing him go, you gotta admire the kid's gumption. Of course, by now, I've learned at least 35 different weaknesses in his fighting technique. I like that little conclusion there. And then we have the revelation in this big anchor image that the person whose narration that is Deadpool, and he's watching from the control booth of the training room, and clearly he's knocked out Siren as well. And he says here to himself, I'm here to smack some sense into Vanessa, not jerk around with Cable's diaper brigade. I like that. I like his little insults for X-Force, dweeb kiddies, diaper brigade. There's another good one coming up later in the issue as well. And he says, but accidentally running into the Irish witch proved to be fun. And now I got the little interdimensional punk showing off for an audience he doesn't even know is watching. And I think it's so funny in the art. I mean, how Shatterstar knocks the head off this robot and then he holds it up in triumph, Like he's really exulting in his triumph in the training room, even over the robots. That's so funny to me. And then Deadpool, this is great. I'm such a sucker for a good brawl. And then he smashes through the observation window of the control room. Hey, pretty boy, cowbunga dude. Another early 90s Simpsons reference there. So Shatterstar has his own little exclamations, much like Longshot did. Zaz Vid is one of his. And we get that there. And then he's about to say Deadpool's name because they met, first of all, in New Mutants. And then I like the way that he says dead, but he's knocked in the jaw. And Deadpool finishes it. Pool. Deadpool, remember. How could I forget? Assassin, says Shatterstar as he wipes the blood from his mouth. But look at that grin on his face. Like he loves brawling too. So we have some like tough guy banter between the two of them. Deadpool boasting here that he's going to kill Shatterstar cold. Is that going to happen? By the way, let me just check those ads there as well. Yeah, Image Comics. Now we've got Savage Dragon added to the publishing slate. The previous issue of X-Force, it was just Spawn and Youngblood. But, already Youngblood is up to a second print. So it's selling well. That's interesting. Anyway, continuing with X-Force, this page and subsequent pages look like the thumbnails must have been very loose. So we're getting a lot more of Pacella's anatomy here on Shatterstar's punch of Deadpool. But they still are Liefeld layouts. And finally, Deadpool tires of the fight and he says to Shatterstar as he knocks him out with a chest punch that we ain't equals. So Shatterstar is out, and that kind of establishes, once again, how tough Deadpool is. And then he continues with his first person narration, the monologue. Okay, playtime's over. Don't know how long Liberace's going to be in Dreamland. Now that's an interesting little reference there, given what was revealed about Shatterstar many, many years later. But in this moment, the Liberace reference is simply to the cloak he wears. But as I said, like it's ironic in terms of what is revealed about Shatterstar. What is it, like maybe 10 years in the future? In any case, Deadpool has his prime mission and he's focused on it and says to himself, no reason to kill today what I could beat up tomorrow. So I better take care of business, and that means taking care of Domino. So here's Domino looking at computer files on Siren, the latest person to join X-Force. And that's interesting. So clearly she's taking this time to study the new arrival. Her sonic powers makes the observation just like her father, the X-Man Banshee. I mean, that's interesting in itself in terms of mutants and the mythos of mutants, that there could be cases where a parent passes on their mutant power to their child, and that's what's happened between Banshee and Teresa Cassidy. That's a nice little image there of Banshee too. I like that. And then Deadpool sneaking up behind Vanessa, it is Vanessa, but Domino, as she continues with her monologue, she says about Teresa, she more than makes up for in passion and anger. What she lacks in Banshee's knowledge and experience, she more than makes up for in passion and anger. So she closes the file. Who's next? Well, there's a surprise coming from behind. And by the way, something else to note here is take a look at what Domino is wearing here. She's wearing her costume, but she's got no pouches. She's got no belt with pouches on her. Just bear that in mind as we continue through the pages. So this is a really interesting panel too. I found this one interesting looking at it as I was preparing to make the review video. So we've got a little inset panel where we see Domino's perspective on the computer screen as she closes the file. She doesn't close. She closes that file, but Deadpool closes the computer. And so there's a little use of a screen tone there as well, with that asterisk indicating that the screen is closing down. But we have her perspective as Deadpool comes up behind her. So it's just it's an intriguing and unusual panel within a panel layout there. But in any case, he reveals himself. How's about me next? And so she's surprised because he's coming at her from behind. Oh, you forgot so soon? Did you, honey? Well, let me remind you, it's your old boyfriend, Deadpool. So that's an interesting revelation too, that these two have that history. So what should I call you, Vanessa or Domino? So we're learning more about Domino by getting her first name, that she had a prior relationship with Deadpool, and so she uses his first name too. Get out of here, Wade. And it looks like she's kicked him right in the crotch. And it doesn't faze him. He says, "Come on, darling, is that any way to say hello? You're going to ruin everything, Wade," she says as she vaults over the chair. "No, baby, you already did that," he thinks. "The minute you took on this job and the second you started to care about it, I feel so nostalgic." She still packs quite a kick. So obviously he's recovering there from the kick to the groin. But she's just playing hard to get. So he sends this line out after her and snags her with it, stringing me along the way she is. What a tease. I like that juxtaposition of the phrasing "stringing me along" as he sends out this whip or line to catch her and snag her. That's interesting combination of words and the images coming out of Fabian Nicieza's script. He's really thinking about what he can do to make this his script sing and chime with the art. I've always been impressed from the beginning on Nicieza's scripting of X-Force. I think he makes it into a fun read. So Deadpool continues, "You've screwed up, Vanessa. Mr. Tolliver ain't real happy with you right now." And it was revealed in the previous issue that Domino is a plant here at X-Force and has been feeding back information to Mr. Tolliver. And he sent Deadpool to find out why she hasn't reported in for so long. "What's going on here?" he asks her. "You falling for all of this stupidity? You starting to give a hoot about Cable and a zip patrol?" That's another one of those insults I found really funny. The diaper brigade and the zip patrol. It's good stuff. So she headbutts him, kicks him in the jaw this time. And there he says, "In the jaw again. That's it, Vanessa." And that's so interesting too. He got kicked in the groin and that didn't bother him too much. But when he's kicked in the jaw, the merc with him out, that's a kick too far. It's an interesting characterization. I like it. And I like that close-up too on Deadpool's eyes as well. And his furrowed and knotted brow too. So he leaps after her, grabs her by the leg and throws her against the wall and demands that she talk. And this is a very Liefeld kind of panel and drawing of Deadpool as well. So probably spend a bit more time on that in the thumbnails, and it's showing up in Pacella's pencils. "I want you to tell me you ain't falling for Cable, that this is still just a job for you." And just look at the flow, the pacing here. We've got not too many panels per page. Nicieza isn't filling this up with narrative captions. He's just letting the dialogue flow. People aren't talking too much in the fight scene. It's all very believable. It's all very fast-paced. I like it very much. So Deadpool here saying, well, she says to him, "I can't tell you that." And then he responds, "Then I can't help but bust up that pretty little face of yours some more. Even if it is," and here we go, "someone else's face." So what does that mean? We've got a magenta color hold in the background indicating the shattering of the wall as Domino hits it. It's an interesting craft technique from the period. So someone else's face, that's intriguing, and that really aggravates her enough. She says she kicks him right in the crotch again. But notice how she now has a belt full of pouches around her, and that started, it's funny how it goes, because the pouches almost start to like materialize. So she's got none up to this point. Oh, she's got two there, none otherwise. A few pouches there, one or two pouches there, then a couple of pouches there, and then more there, a load of them there, lots of them there. It's almost as if they're growing panel to panel in the issue. She's got more there, a whole load of them around her waist there, and look at these ones all over her back there as well. And by the way, once again, just hammering home the Rob Liefeld thumbnail theory I have. Like this posterior shot of Domino is very Liefeld-esque. Also, the silhouetting here in the final panel, very much his style. So And like I said, like a kick in the crotch for Deadpool never phases him. It's interesting just what it implies. Anyway, he continues and he says, "No, babe, enough of you, enough of us." So he knocks her to the ground. And then he says, as he kind of fondles, like this phallic symbolism going on here. He'll take a kick to the crotch, but look at him handling his knife there. He says, "Don't forget who you are or where you came from, kiddo. You can dump on me if you want, but don't dump on Tolliver. That would be a very bad mistake, because you and I both know that when this gig is done, you're still Vanessa and you're still Tolliver property." There's a subtext of prostitution here as well. And you know what happens when he loses what's rightfully his. So the knife goes right in the ground. He pulls it out again. Just consider this a friendly reminder. Don't make me come back to tell you again, cause I won't be so nice next time. And you can see how angry she is about the whole thing. So, very fast-paced, quote-unquote, friendly reminder. And now the scene switches to the massive shield helicarrier. And in the previous issue, Weapon X, aka Garrison Kane, decided that he was going to take up GW Bridge's offer from X-Force number 2 and join up with S.H.I.E.L.D. in order to take down Cable, because Weapon X now believes that Cable and Strife are one and the same. So he communicates this to Bridge, but Bridge is smarter than Kane, and he's thinking through the possibilities. He's running both the MLF and his X-Force group. Wouldn't they be at cross purposes? Is one the cover for the other? What's Cable's game? What's he up to? So Kane, who's more action oriented, says only one way to find out. We have to go after him, bring him in once and for all. So GW Bridge says here, "Are you sure Department K wants this one to themselves?" Positive. It's better to keep S.H.I.E.L.D.'s involvement on the sly. Besides, the group of operatives we've put together all have a personal stake in seeing Cable brought down. You're ready then? So turn the page. And again, this is the Rob Liefeld layout, like a double page spread, but one that is vertical, so like on the horizontal. So I got to turn it around so you can get the full spread there of the combat team that Weapon X is going to use in order to take down Cable and obviously deal with X-Force as well. You know, with GW, Weapon Prime is ready to make its move. So a new super team with the familiar face of Richter here, formerly of New Mutants. And then these two new characters Rob Liefeld designs, but not named in this issue. But this is and will be revealed to be Yeti, and this is Tiger Strike here. So Rob Liefeld designs on those characters, and a typical kind of Dutch angle as well from Liefeld in the thumbnails, no doubt. And we're not at the end of the issue yet. There's 2 more pages, so no letters page. We get 23 pages of story in this issue. It's just a pity that this isn't on a page turn. It should be on a page turn. That would have been nice, like just to place this ad here and then have this as the last page. A nice surprise. But in any case, we've got 3 vertical panels, just as we did at the opening of the story. So there's a nice kind of book ending to this too. And inside a venerable castle somewhere in Austria, Mr. Tolliver, always in deep shadow or silhouette, here he is coming down the spiral staircase with this new character, Pico is his name. And he's very much in the mold of like a Rob Liefeld design character, but kind of predictive of characters he would design for Image, including Troll and Kirby, those kind of dwarf characters. This guy's very much in that mold, and he is like a jailer for this woman that Tolliver has been keeping for, how long does he say? He says for over a year he's had this woman in his captured and imprisoned, and he says to her, "One would think that after over a year as my guest you would have learned to accept my hospitality. Worry not, dear lady, it will all be over soon, indeed shortly. No one will remember anything of the six-pack, or X-Force, or Cable." And then it should have been a page turn, or Domino. And then, of course, in villainous fashion, he laughs evilly there. So Domino strung up, but how can there be 2 dominoes? And it's interesting that this parallels, of course, the mystery of there being two cables as well. So two cables, two dominoes, what on earth is going on? And that was all, part of Liefeld's plotting, but he never got to see out the plot in the way he intended because he had his Youngblood plan and Marvel weren't prepared to tolerate one of their employees publishing for them and also a rival upstart company. So next, enter Cruel, and he was mentioned in the previous issue, and he's someone the externals are going to send after Cable. And there you go, no letters in this particular comic. So I do hope that you enjoyed my review and commentary of X-Force number 11. If you did, please like the video on YouTube. It really helps the channel. And if you haven't done so already, subscribe to the channel and stay tuned for more content like this.